is Lorraine Botha. I am the chairperson for the Standing Committee on the Department of the Premier. And let us put this show on the road. Members, I'm giving you an opportunity to introduce yourselves for the record, and then the department. And I saw that also the Commissioner for Children has joined. So please, if you could all use this round of introductions so that we have it on record. Thank you.
Good morning, dear department.
Good morning, Chairperson Melikaya Kago.
Over to the department.
Okay, good morning, as well as good morning to all the members of this committee. Premier will join us just now. There's just an event that he's attending, but he's given his commitment that he's going to join Chair. So once he joins, I'm sure he can introduce himself. From my side, I've got Elmo Geldenes on the meeting. Elmo's responsible for the performance information. Andre Jumat is the Superintendent General responsible for the CSC. Then I've got Driekus Baston. He is the Chief Financial Officer in the department. Hildegard Fast is the Chief Director Policy in my department. Lucas Buter is the Head of Legal Services, also responsible for Program 6. And then I've got Nazipo, Chair, who is supporting me and also responsible for the performance information in the department. I'm sure some other members will also join as the time progresses, and Premier will also join as we go on. Chair, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malila. As we all have received the agenda for today, we are going to be briefed on the quarterly performance, both financial and non-financial, in regard to the third quarter, the 2021-22 financial year. My apologies, I just want to introduce Wasima as our procedural officer. Thank you very much. And we have the Assistant Procedural Officer also joining us, as well as IT, who is ensuring that we are audible and that our IT is intact. And I see the Premier very differently this morning. Good morning, Premier. Welcome to the Standing Committee meeting. Are you on a bicycle?
Good morning. I'm actually not. I'm actually at, I'll show you, the start.
Oh, the netball. Okay, Netball Friday.
I'm sorry, Netball Fridays. I'm in trouble here every time.
Welcome, Premier.
Thank you.
Any opening remarks from you, sir, in regard to what's on the agenda?
Yes, I would like to. And first of all, thank the DG for being with you without his shirt on, because we've actually got Cabinet and HODs with our pro team going to be playing this opening match. And I think he's using it as an excuse. But thank you very much. You'll see in the report that the DG will give you, I mean, there's only 2 areas where the targets aren't 100%. So I think that's really outstanding. And even those 2, the DG will show you as we move into the next quarter that those get dealt with. But I think, obviously this is exactly what we need to be reporting, where we are with our quarterly reports. And you can see that, and I am very proud of the team and what they've achieved. It's still tough times, but I think that the data shows you that things are working. And that we are, wherever we have those issues, that we zoom in, we target those matters that need to be looked at, and we get them right. So in actual fact, I'd like to say to you, Chair, obviously we're reporting to you. You need to interrogate the detail, but also to the DG, thank you to the team for putting it together. And you can see that this ExCo team really is, managing things and then taking it right down to every single individual in this department who's playing their part in making sure that we get to those numbers of 100%, and you'll see it in all of those programs. Program 3, obviously, you'll see that the 2 issues highlighted and also the remedial action.
Thank you very much, Premier, for that opening remarks. DG, then over to you for the presentation. Thank you.
Good morning again, Chair, and good morning, Premier. I'm not escaping the issue that's happening with netball. I will join you as soon as I can. Chair, thank you to all the members, and also thank you for my own ExCo team that is here. I'm going to share the presentation, and I have distributed the presentation yesterday to all the members of the standing committee. I just want to make sure if you can actually see the presentation, Chair. So I just want to check with Basima.
Indeed, we can, Dr. Malila.
Wonderful.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So, Chair, what we've done from our side is this presentation is going to give you a snapshot of where we are with regards to Q3. But what we've done in addition to that is also to provide you the updated information as it relates to Q4 and the end of the year, because we thought that is also important, because the end of Q3 takes us to December, and then sometimes, when you get to the end of the third quarter, there are some final things that you need to do to kind of just get everything over the line. And therefore, Premier has indicated that particularly for Q3, there were 2 out of a total of about some 59 indicators that we haven't achieved at that point in time. For Q3 particularly, there were only 50 targets at that time. In aggregate, we have 59 targets, and at that time, there was only 2 targets that we haven't received, but we've in the meantime catch up, and you will see when we table our annual report that there's no issue in that respect. So, Chair, my presentation will then deal with that. I've got the program managers here to then also respond to the various issues. Chair, this slide just gives you an indication of our expenditure up to the end of December. You will see that we've spent about 70% or so of our budget. Again, no major concern. The notional benchmark 3/4 of the year is around 75%, but also given the business of this department, there's a substantial amount of expenditure that comes through during the fourth quarter. Provincial strategic management was sitting at about 60%, but that program is also primarily responsible for all the APP issues, the cross-cutting support as it relates to the recovery plan across government, and some of the key expenditure came through during the fourth quarter. So in aggregate, Chair, there's no issue. You'll also see corporate services, exactly the same situation, obviously in a big way responsible for the audit committees, risk, etc. And some key expenditure also came through during the fourth quarter. But my main programs is program 4. I'm talking about now from a budgetary perspective. You can see they were sitting already at 72%. Legal services, they were already sitting at 74.5%. So in aggregate, Chair, I've got no issues. Compensation 73.19. That's as close as we can get. Obviously, that's also as a result of filling of positions. And then you can see, Chair, there are no issue really on transfers and subsidies and goods and services. Just from a performance context perspective, Chair, our role is really to enable, guide, and direct departments. Between Premier and I and this ExCo team, we also play a key role across government, particularly as it related to the management of COVID. And I'm not going to go into that detail because we have already briefed the committee on it. And I'm sure, Chair, if you look at even from a commerce perspective, a strategy perspective, this department has been right up there in terms of enabling, guiding, and directing the various departments, as well as the initiatives of this government. What we also do, Chair, is we're also driving the innovation program with the other departments. And the team in this department have been in the front line with regards to innovations around particularly the way that we operate as government from a culture perspective, as well as innovation, from a delivery perspective in all the departments, not just health, and particularly over the last year, our COVID interventions, and I will talk a little bit later just around the recovery plan at L. Chair, obviously there is a broader context, and the broader context within this entire government, as well as the country, is the issue around budget cuts, growing service delivery demands, but notwithstanding that, we've been able to do what we did in the third quarter as well as in the year to support departments and also to develop the provincial recovery plan. The first year of COVID, that's in 2020, was really, putting together a response plan. And then particularly last year, Chair, when we got post the third wave of COVID, we realized that you can't just, operate in terms of responding to a pandemic. So we've put together a recovery plan with the 3 key priorities around job, safety, and well-being. We've put a lot of detail into the plan. Departments are working on the plan, and we're implementing this plan together with the provincial strategic plan. And I think this department, again, as I've said, have been in the front line to enable, guide, and direct the development of the recovery plan, but also the implementation of the recovery plan. Key in that plan is what we've got in this department around digital transformation, around the new way of work, intergovernment collaboration, because obviously you can't do this on your own, working very closely with national, working very closely with municipalities through the cabinet process under the leadership of the Premier, obviously pulling, all the municipalities into the cabinet space through the extended cabinet processes. We've even had engagements with various other institutions, particularly to talk about our recovery plan, but also to talk about our response plan more broadly in terms of addressing, some of those things that also in our PSP, but across Western Cape government. All of that is obviously underpinned by a strong data team, because we believe in decision making that's based on data or evidence based. We've done it now within the safety environment. We've done it in the through the well-being environment, and in fact, Chair, we're also now doing it through, this whole issue around creating jobs, etc. And yesterday we had a session where we spoke, quite extensively about the development of our comprehensive jobs plan. It must be underpinned by data. And Chair, as the year progresses, we will come and brief you a little bit more. So, Chair, internally in the department, there's also the internal work. I mean, we've strengthened our governance substantially. I mean, and I must say thank you here to each and every program manager. You will also hear when we go later during the year with our audit. I mean, even the discussions with the Auditor General, the discussions with our corporate governance team, our internal work, we've strengthened that substantially, but not just in terms of nominal compliance. We've moved to the point of conformance or improved conformance, where we say it's not just about ticking boxes, complying to legislative deadlines, but talking about how can we up our own game so that the impact of the work that we are doing out there, communities can feel it, and that we are really serious about what we're doing. We also have a very strong focus, as I said, on data, but not just data, also we follow a whole of government approach, given the central role that this department plays to guide, direct and support departments. Internally in our vote, and you will also see the documents, we've upped our game on it, Chair. The quality is definitely improved. And in fact, what we've developed inside to also support, ourselves as managers is we've developed our own APP indicator monitoring system. So we do monthly monitoring, tracking, around all our responsibilities as government, both from a financial as well as a non-financial performance perspective. We report to the Premier regularly, because the Premier is our EA. We've got regular engagements with the audit committee. We've got no real issues from a governance perspective. And as I've indicated, even when you talk to the audit committee, this department has really upped the game, as it relates to governance. And the focus for this year and moving forward is to say, how can we become more innovative in this space? How can we do more? And not just focusing on pure, let's call it compliance from a governance perspective, because that is also important. But how can we, talk about governance, but then we put a performance hat on governance? So it's actually good governance for performance, and where good governance lays the basis for continued performance. Chair, the next slide just illustrate to you, what we've done internally in our departments. Since the Premier became the head of government in 2019, you can see at that stage we were sitting at about 88% of our indicators that we've achieved per financial year. Last year, 2020, 2021. We've achieved all our indicators, and this is at the back of really refining the indicators upping our game on the indicators, making sure that our indicator descriptors, look different, that it speaks to the broader indicators, and those indicators have been targeted at improving service delivery. This year, I mean, it's still pre-audited, but we're sitting at 98% of our indicators. So I think there's just one indicator that we haven't achieved, and I mean, we will provide further detail when we table our annual report. But I mean, a lot of that had to do with the suspension of some of the procurement issues at National, Chair, given the issues around the recent court case, and then obviously, everybody was put on hold to do further procurement. Chair, moving to our performance for 2021, you can see it's a steady improvement in this department. Overall, for the year, we're sitting at 98% of our targets. At the end of Q3, we've achieved 51 out of the 56 targets. That was way over. It's actually at the end of Q4. At the end of Q3, we've achieved 48 out of the 50, and internally we are working, with our respective managers to make sure, that this does not become a major issue. But you will see also, Chair, that in respect of particularly Q3, Q4, there's no issue. Just in aggregate, we're sitting at 98% of our overall performance. So program managers were able to catch up on some of the issues, and I mean, I'll talk a little bit later just on the one target, but I also don't want to just focus on those ones that we have not achieved. Chair, if you look at our overall performance, we've actually achieved 58 of our 59 targets, and most of these targets have got a direct implication on service delivery, whether it's in the CAI space, whether it's in the legal space, whether it's in the, let's call it broader governance space from a corporate perspective. Some of these good governance outcomes that you see happening in departments, this department plays a key role in it. And then obviously from a delivery perspective, particularly on the PSP and the recovery plan, this department plays a key role. So I've got no issue, Chair, with regards to the performance of this vote. Chair, I'm not going to go through each and every of our targets. I've given you a comprehensive set of indicators. You can see at the end of Q3 within the people management environment, 9 targets, 7 have been achieved, 2 have not been achieved. Some of it is relating to the data, but if you look at the end of Q3, it was only, I think, 1 of those targets in that particular area. But again, if you look at it now, we've actually also been able to catch up on some of those issues. So if I just look at some of the exceptions, I mean, slide 10, this particularly deals with program 3, and you can see those 2 exceptions is in the environment of organizational development, people in training and empowerment. But overall, Chair, we've got no issue. People management practices, which actually with the bulk of the work set, there's been no issue there with regards to not achieving the targets. So if you look at those 2 small targets that we've not achieved, it's not that we've achieved 0. You can see our planned target was 3/4 of the year, and we said that 3/4 of the year we should be 75% through, and in fact we were sitting at 70% at that point in time. So it's not I would say it's not a full non-achievement of a target, but it's really you wanted to get to 75%, but you've only got to 70%. But when you look at Q4, this deliverable was actually achieved at year end. So this team was able to catch up on the obviously the performance in Q4, but also the marginal miss of a 5 percentage point number in Q3. And again, Chair, we've taken this into the development of our new APP. It is really just an issue of operational planning. You anticipate to get to 75%, but things happen in the year, and the target wasn't entirely aligned to our operational reality. Chair, the next target, and I mean, this relates to the reconfiguration of our Provincial Training Institute out at Cromeria. Our plan was actually to have an approved reconfiguration roadmap implemented. We've not been able to do that, and in fact, we've gone through a full-on procurement process. We've actually rethinked, the way that we wanted to do this thing, given also our learnings through COVID. We actually came up with some new ideas because obviously we're focusing on innovation. And what we want to do at our training institute is actually to create an innovation hub at that place. So given the new thinking, the change thinking, given the learnings, Chair, we had to recraft our entire plan. In fact, go out an entire new process from a procurement perspective. But again, at year end, this was not a problem, and we've been able to actually achieve that. Chair, what we've also done is obviously internally, we don't just put the stuff on paper. We've got an entire verification process in place because we need to ensure that information is reliable, and it is sufficient. There's proper evidence, and also it's relevant. And therefore, internally in this department, we've also upped our game to make sure that if we say we've achieved the target, then the evidence is there. If we say we haven't achieved the target, then the evidence must also be there. And you can see, Chair, particularly with the one indicator, we've assessed it when we said, listen, we only achieved 70%, and therefore we're not going to say, we achieved 75% when we only achieved 70% of the target, and then we put processes in place to say, so how are we going to deal with this? Chair, from a recommendation perspective, obviously our team work with all the different programs. I mean, we take it into our governance committee. We've got it as standard items on our EXCO agenda. And if there are certain areas in the department that's not functioning optimally, we take full responsibility as an entire EXCO team for that. And we see how can we help each other to make sure that the stuff actually deliver. And then internally, Chair, I spoke about, the fact that we've strengthened our internal M&E as well as our own internal capacity within our branch. Chair, the next set of slides just deals with those programs where we had 100% performance. I'm really just going to flip through that. Program 1 is really just executive governance and integration. Chair, this deals with obviously the Office of the DG as a sub-program, financial management, which is the CFO function, and strategic communication, no issue in that program. Program 2 deals with the issues around planning, the recovery plan, the PSP, so it's policy and strategy, SMI, which is our data team, and then also strategic programs, which deals with human rights issues at L. You can also see, Chair, there's no issue. Program 4 deals with, I've already dealt with Program 3, Chair, so I'm not going to repeat that. Program 4 is our Center for E-Innovation, so they're responsible for the CEI platform or the IT platform of this government. They're also responsible for the implementation of broadband across government, implementation of broadband that also impacts and benefits citizens. So they deal with ICT services, also our GTO management services. That's obviously, where they deal with this different departments. They deal with infrastructure issues, and then within our TAPS environment, these are all the transversal systems that government runs on. There's no issue in that space. Corporate assurance, Chair, no issue in this space. They deal with corporate assurance across the entire government platform, and that covers risk management. It covers internal audit, it's also audit committees, etc. Forensic services, Chair, you've already received a presentation from forensic services. It also fits in this program, and then also corporate communication. So there's no issue within that space. And then lastly, Chair, legal services. They provide transversal legal services for the entire government. And again, there's no issue. And this program just deals with the legal advisory and governance services. There are other sub-programs, Chair. So if you look at it in aggregate, you will see those other sub-programs also coming through for the entire year. But obviously, these ones that have been highlighted had indicators, particularly within program 3. Chair, that then deals, I think, with my presentation, and I'm really proud to be in this department, and I'm really proud, of the achievement of this government. I think I want to echo what the Premier said. Chair, this is an extra team that takes the work very serious. They're serious about delivery because it impacts on the citizen. We are serious about the work we're doing because we impact on the entire government system, and we will continue, to guide, direct, and support departments to deliver on the provincial strategic plan, to deliver, also on our recovery plan priorities, and to make sure at the end of the day, we are building a government that the citizens trust and that people, can rely on, and that we're providing services to the citizens out there so that tomorrow is better than today for many of the communities that we are serving. Chair, that's it from our side. I hand back to you, and also thank you to the team that have worked on preparing this document. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, DG, for your very comprehensive report and presentation, and thank you to the team. And, thank you for the Western Cape government team for putting citizenry first. Members, with that presentation, I'm going to allow an opportunity for questions. If you have any questions. Dr. Malila? It does not seem that we have any questions for you and the department. So thank you very much, sir. I'm then, members, going to move on to the Commissioner for Children with that presentation. Dr. Malila, I'm just checking with you. Do you stay in the standing committee meeting?
Chair, I will stay in the meeting, but my program managers are welcome to exit. Only Mr. Jumat, because obviously this responsibility for the Children Commissioner, I think from a programmatic perspective, sits there. So the rest of the people can exit, and then I would just appreciate if Driekus can stay in the meeting. But I will be dialing up, Chair, because so I won't be in my office, but I will be in the meeting. Thank you very much, and also good morning to Christina. I mean, I've also seen that presentation, Chair, because there is the working relationship. I mean, we engage with the Premier quite often. We're responsible for obviously some of the financial issues, and we're pulling also the performance issues. So we're working hand in hand, the Children's Commissioner, my office, and the Premier, even with the budgetary issues. I'm sure she's going to talk about it. There is no issue. From our side, we want to make sure that the Children Commissioner, being the first in the country, works, is a functional institution, and in fact, do what they need to do for the children of this province. So, Chair, that's from our side. Thank you very much to you and the members, and to my EXO team. And yeah, I'll be staying in the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I want to say good morning, Ms. Nomdu. Welcome to the Standing Committee meeting. I think it's your first meeting with me as the chairperson. So please be welcome, ma'am, and looking forward to your presentation and engagement with you.
Morning, Chair and members, and Dr. Malila and his team. I feel a bit lonely. He had like a whole team. I'm glad he's staying to support me. Thank you. I'm on my own today, but I'm looking forward really to sharing with you, because I really feel that the Standing Committee is such a great support to me and my office. It's a lonely road. As Dr. Malila has said, we're the first in the country. We are only the second institution of our kind in Africa, as we recently confirmed. And it's a lonely road. So I appreciate all the support I can get. I'm going to start my presentation now, and you will just...
I just want to say, even though it is a lonely road, as you say, it is breaking ground, not just in South Africa, but in Africa. So well done. Thanks.
Thank you for that, Chair. It's much appreciated. Will you tell me when you can see my slides?
We can indeed see your slides.
Fantastic. So I think that my presentation is obviously a little bit different to Dr. Malila's. Will be in more narrative format, keeping you informed of what we've been doing. But just to say, okay, let me use Dr. Malila's speak. I am an APP in his performance program, and I am always compliant. He will tell you I put my non-financial and financial data reports into him timeously. And so we get to talk also about the challenges that I'm facing, and we get to problem solve together. And I really do appreciate that collegial relationship between us, that we can problem solve together. We in the last year, and I've already put in like Q4's report, so I know that we spent on our COE budget, 92% of our available funds last year. That makes me very happy to come up to that ceiling. Our goods and service spending is a bit slower because of our capacity to spend, but also because we do things really economically. You can see when I speak to you about our activities that we are very busy, but we do try to do things economically. So I've also in preparation for this presentation, but also as a celebration of our 2nd anniversary, which happened on the 1st of June, 2020. We are 2 years old. We are starting to be a toddler organization, not an infant organization anymore. So hopefully we are standing and we are going to start running now. It's indeed a privilege to have brought the organization to the stage where we have 2 years of solid experience that we can share with yourselves and government, the country and the world. Let me just carry on with that presentation. Oh. My slides are going to talk to you firstly about the mandate. And here I'm going to ask you also to be part of the problem solving with me. The mandate in law for the Children's Commissioner is very clear. But the main challenge for us is that, you know, even amongst the general public, civil society, some members of parliament, the expectations of the office of the commissioner outstrips our mandate. So along the way, people got very excited about this institution and they built expectation about us being everywhere and everything for everybody. Stopping every child rape, every child murder, every child kidnapping that's happening. And when the inevitable happens, that those unrealistic expectations are not met, people are disappointed. And they call publicly in the media, where is the Children's Commissioner? When murders are happening, when rapes are happening, when kidnappings of children are happening. You can be assured that I too am very concerned about the violations of children's rights. But unfortunately, violence against children and violence in our society is a societal problem and must be addressed by the society at large. And I speak a lot in my public statements then about what role each of us needs to be able to play to be the front line of defense, the protectors of children and their rights. And so the first biggest challenge, although we have done very well in communicating our mandate, and we have, you know, put out wonderful publications. We have put out simple flyers. We have put out stories that children get to hear from other children. Some RX Radio Child journalists help me create stories that children listen to understand the commissioner's mandate better and to be more realistic about that mandate. And they are definitely our brand ambassadors. We've got a Twitter page, we've got a Facebook page, we've got a website, and that's so great that we have these platforms and that they are growing in their appeal. I think many people, over 130 people wished us happy birthday on Facebook, and I'm very happy about that, which means that people are looking at those sites. But the challenge remains. The expectation of the public far outstrips the mandate of the commissioner. And it is hoped that when my awareness branch comes up to speed, that we will be able to campaign more clearly and more specifically to put people's minds at ease about what value this institution brings to society. And the value is significant. We have really worked very hard to build.
She's making a presentation and I don't actually have to listen to it. I don't have to see
Just in case.
Excuse me, good morning. IT, can you just check who
Um,
that is, please? And
So
mute.
which days are you taking off?
Friday.
Thi-
Thursday's a holiday.
Next Friday, yes.
Sorry,
And the following
Commissioner.
Monday. That'll be a 4-day work week that week.
Yes, exactly.
Siraj,
Yeah, everybody's taking that one off. Everyone's taking Friday off.
Siraj,
So that's fine.
Just remember, I'm muting
please
them now.
mute that person. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Apologies for that, Commissioner. Please continue.
So I think that, you know, as part of that communications campaign, but also as part of the key strategy of my office is building those key relationships. For example, I connected on a one-to-one level with members of opposition parties in Parliament, as well as yourself and other chairs of this committee and even the Social Development Committee when we were still there, so that you are always free to connect with me, that I am accessible to you, that you can ask me questions, you know, at any time, and you don't have to necessarily wait for platforms like this. In the same way, I have connected very well with the heads of the mandated government departments. And this enables me to, you know, visit service sites, make referrals of complaints and inquiries. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that later, the complaints and inquiries specifically. And just to have a general feeling of, you know, we are working with each other to align these departments to child rights. I do see myself first as a resource to the departments to align their practice to child rights realization. You know, we don't have a stick in this office. The mandate stretches as far as recommendations and advice. And so what I put emphasis on is to build spheres of influence within those departments, especially with the head of department and the political head of the department, so that there's always an open communication channel. Now, I always give the, you know, a little bit of a child rights theory input here, and I say to explain or to preface why my office works directly with children. So child rights theory tells us there are 3 P's: protection, provision, and participation. We must enable children to be protected from harm, provide services for their well-being, and they must participate in all decisions that affect their lives. Now, as civic-minded people, we always worry about the protection of children, and we have a whole entire child protection system that sits within the Department of Social Development. I speak to Dr. McDonald almost daily. He can verify. We were speaking to each other past 9 last night as well. But it's a very good responsive system that I have to elevate complaints to him. We have an entire child protection system in government. Then provision of services is a whole of government responsibility towards children. Not only my mandated departments, but every government department also serves to realize the rights of children. So we've got that covered. The problem that we have in societies like our own is that we have hierarchies of power in our society, where children are not seen as full citizens. They are not given, you know, full agency in relation to the social change that they would like to see in society. And so what I've chosen as an ethos and main implementation strategy for my office is this element of rights that children struggle to articulate, struggle to realize, and that is child participation rights. And I can tell you by benchmarking within Africa, we are the lead in this field. I've just been to a meeting in Pretoria a few weeks ago, and I've sat with the, experts on the African Committee, and people are real fans of our work, to place it colloquially. They appreciate the strides that we are making in creating this platform for children to participate, particularly in governance, because that is the challenge for children. So I have developed 3 child participation models to form part of the foundation of our work. So these are not projects, cute projects that's nice to have for the commissioner. These are groundbreaking initiatives that we will later in the year also benchmark internationally. I will go to a conference in Europe to find out from those children's commissioners directly whether they have the quality of engagement that we have with our children from this platform in the Western Cape. I really want to measure us up against the world so that we are world class, not to be able to boast that we are frontiers people, but so that we can measure ourselves and see what can we do to improve our practice. We want to be part of the best practice models in the world, especially in our context, and that is the developing world context. The first ever engagement I had when I spoke with children's commissioners was to talk with the first children's commissioner of India, because that's the context that we must be engaging with to learn lessons from. And we really found a great synergy of purpose in our vision to recreate the character of childhoods. And I take that, the recreate the character of childhoods. I take that pattern from her, and I want to see how we do that. So I want to talk about this one model, which is called the Child Government Monitors, and you will hear a lot about this model because we really try to put children at the forefront of articulating their own voice. People say to me, you are the voice of children. No, I'm too old to be the voice of children. I am a platform. My institution is the platform for the voices of children. And so their voices must come out clear and their voices must come out authentically. They must say what they want to say. And so they work with me very integrally. I'm not going to read to you the presentation. You read what they are doing. And you will notice that they are doing really well in terms of what they bring to the office. And by the end of the second year, we now have 75 child government monitors and mentors. Some of them have now aged and have become 18 years old and have frankly told me, we're not leaving. We want to help you. We still want to be child human rights defenders like you, even though we are now adults. So we want to walk alongside our peers and provide them with that support. They do wonderful work. One of them right now, an 18-year-old, is helping me to write the submission for the Basic Education Laws Amendment Bill, which that submission must be into Parliament by next Wednesday. And so we have vigorous conversations only amongst the children. They bring out their voices, and it's wonderful because we use the WhatsApp platform, so I can copy and paste direct quotes of what they say into the submission. And so these submissions to Parliament, for example, their involvement in the strategic planning for the office, and their ability to engage with other structures such as the UN. 2 of them have applied to be speakers in the pre-session for the United Nations Committee on the Rights of the Child, because South Africa will have to report this year. And so there is an opportunity for civil society organizations and child human rights defenders to give a critical view on what government is doing right or wrong in the country for child rights. one thing I want to highlight in this slide, and I'm particularly excited about it, is we kick off a 4th model of children's involvement in governance in July. And that is the training of children and monitors to be able to monitor budgets, government budgets, public budgets, from a child rights perspective. And so we will have a training program in July where that model will kick off. I have built that model several years ago and would like it to be a sustainable feature in the governance system, you know, that children are able to engage budgets and speak to budgets. The second big model, and you will always hear this, and on my social media feeds, and I talk a lot about this in the news, that we wanted to make sure that children have their voice heard directly by the commissioner. The most vulnerable, the most marginalized, and the most rural children must feel as if the commissioner is accessible to them. And so, you know, in October 2020, when I had absolutely no staff, the DG borrowed some staff to me, one staff member, and he enabled us to go to communities in the West Coast to run a pilot of having community child rights workshops with children, with their parents, with service providers. It is a model that has really made the office accessible, and we are very proud to say that we have now, you know, done 6 of those municipalities: Matsikama, Berg River, Hesekwa, Bito, Prince Albert, and Beaufort. And in order for us to not just pay lip service to what children say, we collect that data, we refer it to our mandated departments, and the mandated departments are cooperating very well in providing formal responses to what citizenry has said, you know, especially children. And so we will, in July as well, when we go and do the budget training, we will do it in the West Coast, so that we present our first feedback meeting to the communities in Matsikama and Berg River on what government has replied to their inputs, to their complaints, to their inquiries. And so I want to make this point here, that our system of complaints and inquiries is very child-friendly, because we go directly to the children. And you can see on this slide, I tell you when we've gone to each of those municipalities, how far we've traveled. It's a joke in my office, because I always want a picture next to the place name where I've been, so that there's evidence, you know, there's evidence that we've been to those communities, besides the evidence of the workshop materials that we generate, the data that we generate from children. We are very proud to have put this very significant strategy into implementation. And I have said to the staff, we will pause now. We will first create the feedback to all these communities before we start another municipality. You know, look, we were already in year 3 for me. Before you blink, my term of 5 years will be over. So we will use year 3 to consolidate and make good on our promises, to speak to the communities once again, to report back. I think that's just good practice. We also have consultations with children, topical consultations. And the first consultation we had with children was about learning in COVID times. The current one that we're implementing, even while we go around to these rural communities, is to hear the voices of the Representative Council of Learners and whether they are taken seriously in the governance system within schools. And we will produce a report from those findings as well. So I have told you that we would like to have a monitoring and awareness branch in our office that is much more substantive than what we currently have. At the moment, when we go to service sites, we can merely make observations, but we don't have yet a monitoring framework, monitoring tools which we've developed, because this branch of my office has not yet been established. And I'll speak a little bit later when I speak with the staffing about the staffing structure, about what we'd like to see in this branch. But we have made some cursory observations, and we have shared those observations in our West Coast report and in our Hesekwa report, which are both published reports. And you can just let me know when you're available, and I will deliver those hard copy reports to you personally. Our investigations and advice branch is up and running. And in the first, on 2021 February, the first Children's Commissioner officer started. A second one started on June 2021, but that was only on a contract basis. She has since accepted a promotion and has left the office. And the head of branch was appointed on the 1st of July 2021. So you can understand that we have highly qualified, but quite few staff still in this, in this branch, in this office. My staff tally is still at 2 full-time members at this date. Still at 2 full-time members. We are hoping to increase that exponentially this year. And I'll tell you a little bit of that story when I talk about the staffing structure. We have created quite a great, investigations procedure, and the head of branch is an organizational psychologist. So he is very good at creating frameworks and processes and strategies for investigations. You will know that in I think it was very recently, a few months ago, we traveled to Mauritius, which is the other Children's Commissioner's office in Africa, to benchmark ourselves against that against that organization, but also more fundamentally to learn from African methods of strategy implementation in Ombudsman's for Children's Office. You know, we must learn from our own first. Before we go into the world, we must first learn from our neighbors. And so we took the effort to go to them, and they taught us a lot about the investigations procedure. The investigation procedure is very rigorous. They've been developing it since 2003. And we have already in final form our report of that study visit to Mauritius, and the head of branch has also created a learning brief on the comparison of our investigations procedures. We receive complaints, and we pass them over to the departments. We analyze those complaints. It's not for me how responsive, it is good for the departments to be responsive to the commissioner, but it means that we are using power to escalate a matter, whereas this is not the fundamental purpose of the commissioner's office. The commissioner's office must make a system work for all children, not just the few who have my contact details, who manage to reach out to me so that I can escalate their matter. And so we have analyzed that the child protection system is the one that needs to receive the most attention. And thus we have formulated a quite intensive study that we will do, creating a baseline of the ethos of care in the Western Cape. We will find out why children are having to leave their parental homes or their first primary caregiving homes and enter the alternative care system. We want to understand that push factors. We want to understand the ethos of care inside our alternative care system. If you follow my social media, my most recent post on Twitter tells you the story that, the most heartbreaking work we do is when I have to go and visit children in secure care facilities. These are children under 18, awaiting trial, or even who already have convictions against them. And when I talk to them about their dreams for the future, you can see they are just children. They are children who systems have failed, who the primary adults in their lives have failed them, and they land in terrible circumstances where sometimes they've also been used by adults to commit crime. And so, you know, I say that's by far the most heart-sore work that I have to do. It really is heart-wrenching. So we do want to also take individual complaints from people, and people can really access me very easily. They can access me on WhatsApp, Twitter, Facebook Messenger. We have a form on our website. I constantly talk about these methods where you can find the commissioner, and people do reach out to me, and I'm able to send their requests upstream. Now for the hard part of some of the challenges that I have. We are in our second temporary office. We have moved from Norton Rose House to Waldorf Arcade, and you know, we are fine there. But the DG will know, and this committee will know, that from the beginning, I spoke that a government building is not a child-friendly place. A government building is not the ideal headquarters of the Children's Commissioner. And what I want is a building that's really child-friendly, approachable, and the children in the advisory group of in my office have designed you know, where there must be an ECD level room, there must be a teen room, there must be a, you know, primary school level children must have their own room, their own space where they can feel as if they are at home there. It must really be a child-friendly venue. And what the DG has helped me to talk very speedily with the Department of Transport and Public Works, and we have identified an accommodation for the permanent accommodation of the Office of the Commissioner. But there are some challenges, and I hope the DG will help me again, maybe to talk directly with the DG in Department of Transport and Public Works, so that we can hear a status update, and when we can hear when it will be possible for us to make moves into the permanent office. Everybody's excited about it. It's a goal that I want to see achieved in my term of office. I really want to see this goal achieved, and I really ask for your help in achieving this goal. We are almost at the end. The Office of the Children's Commissioner, the structure was developed before the commissioner came on board. And so the structure is evolving with the work of the commission, but also just to make good sense of how we do our functions. And so we're working with organizational development in the, you know, in government, and also with HR to create these two defined branches of investigations and advice, where I have said the deputy director is appointed, one of the children's commissioners is appointed, and one of the assistant directors, I think the nomination process is en route, and we hope to appoint that person imminently. The fantastic news is that due to a successful bid with Treasury, we can now make 3 additional appointments. And I've selected to appoint the second Children's Commissioner office in the investigations branch, and to initiate the monitoring and awareness branch with a deputy director and a children's commissioner officer. I also want to see this happening in the 3rd year of office. But I have found that, you know, bureaucracy is quite challenging, and it sometimes takes longer than what you anticipate. I want to end with this particular statement around the independence of the office. We are embedded in the executive. There is no running away from that. We are embedded as an institution in the Department of the Premier. The DG of the province is our accounting officer, and Parliament must really think about, you know, this calls for more autonomy of this office. When I present my annual report, I can guarantee you that civil society is going to ask of me, how independent is your institution? And I want to be able to reassure them that we're working towards greater and greater autonomy for this institution, because it is an oversight institution. And so embedding the institution within the executive and certain departments within the executive may give the impression that we are not as autonomous or independent as we should be. I thank you for the attention. I spoke a lot longer than the DG, so I'm sorry about that, but I wanted to give you a full story and an up-to-date story of where the office is now, and thank you for your consistent and continuous encouragement of that office.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nondo, and thank you for the very detailed presentation and report that you have given. Members, I'm going to open up for questions to Ms. Nondo. Member Barpan.
Thank you, Chairperson. And just firstly, thank you to the Children's Commissioner for what was a very fruitful presentation, and I'm proud to see the work that they are doing. I just wanted to ask that from the committee side, actually, that given the request regarding the building, that if we as a committee can maybe urgently ask that Transport and Public Works engages with the Children's Commissioner and the DG on this matter, so that we can find a child-friendly building. I know government buildings aren't exactly the prettiest buildings. They aren't exactly the most functional buildings for children, but I do think that this is something that we need to focus on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I trust that our procedural officer has captured what you have just said. I just want to ask Ms. Nondo, in regard to support from your office, but in the districts for children to access. How does that exactly work? If a child is in Bitterfontein and has an urgency to be heard by the Commissioner for Children, how does that child access the office of the Commissioner?
Shall I answer right away, Chair?
You can, Ms. Nondo. I don't see any other member raising a hand.
So I think this is the value of our community child rights workshop approach and our child government monitors approach. That by traveling to these places, we can make ourselves known to the children. And we then invite them in those community child rights workshops that I have to become child government monitors, which means that they join a group with me, a virtual group on WhatsApp. And the office also provides data to these children so that their ability to be part of the WhatsApp group is secured, you know, and I'm proud to say that in Bitterfontein, our child government monitor's name is Eldonique. So in Rietpoort, our child government's monitor's name is Ruan. So we have in each of these communities, especially where I've been physically present, we have made several efforts to create a point of contact in those communities for children to be child government monitors, to be child human rights defenders. And on Monday, I will make a presentation to Selga, to the new cohort of municipal leaders. And I will there also explain to them that they may facilitate my visits into their district, into their areas. I will talk to them about how children in their particular municipalities can connect with me. And I will ask them to be children's rights champions and to really encourage the children in those districts, especially the far-flung, low-resource districts, to connect with me. But I think that our child participation strategy is really meeting that need.
Thank you very much. And I'm glad that that Rietpoort is also on the radar of the Commissioner's office. It's heartwarming to hear that there is a footprint in Rietpoort. Members, if there are no other questions that you want to pose, I'm going to then say thank you to the Commissioner, and we will do some recommendations that will get to your office from us as the standing committee. And I see that the DG has now put on his sporting gear. He joins us from the sporting fields now. And I want to ask DG, any closing remarks before we say goodbye?
Chair, from my side also, just to say thank you to all the members, but particularly also to you. And I think also for the questions that's been raised. Also want to say thank you to Ms. Nomdo, for the work that she's doing. We're in constant contact. You've heard from her. We work together. I've heard the question from Member Bartman. We will definitely take it up again with the Transport and Public Works Department. The issue is actually around getting the current tenant out of it. So we've put money aside to obviously do all the maintenance of that building, etc. Once the legal issues have been sorted out. But other than that, we've got an excellent relationship with the Office of the Commissioner. So in closing, Chair, thank you very much. And thank you again to the team of the Department of the Premier and the team of the Office of the Children's Commissioner. And we will commit, to do the best we can for the communities out there. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, DG. And thank you, Ms. Nomdo. And thank you to the department. Yes.
May I just also, in closing, thank my team, Samantha Morris, who is the PA on loan from the Department of the Premier, the Head of Investigations, Cameron Seister, the Children's Commissioner Officer who goes into the field with me, Tessa Goldschmidt, and Rufiwa Nklansana, who has been such a solid social work support for us until she's been promoted. I really want to thank my team, because without them, I wouldn't be able to do all this work. And thank you also to the DG and his team for constantly supporting us, and yourselves also for encouraging and support. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we shall come and visit the Office of the Children's Commissioner. Thank you very much. I am saying goodbye to all our officials on the platform, and then I'm going to ask members to please stay behind so that we can do the administrative necessities of the standing committee. Okay, members, it seems that the department has left. I want to ask in regard to recommendations of the two presentations that we have received. Member Bartman, it seems it's only you and me left. Member Bartman, have you also gone? Wasima?
Chair.
Okay, there is a voice. Because I'm thinking that I'm talking to myself here.
No, I think the resolutions was made when there was a quorum, so those two resolutions are in order.
Okay, can I add?
Yes, you may.
In regard to the Children's Commissioner engagement with the municipalities, the districts, if we could perhaps request a list of dates of engagements, and whether we could then embark on one of those in one or other district.
Yes. Okay.
Together with just for us to see what the kind of engagement is with the municipality, and yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. And then what's the other two that you have captured?
And then Transport and Public Works and the DG to engage with the commission with the commissioner to engage with Transport and Public Works and the DG regarding a child-friendly building and an oversight visit to the commissioner for children's office.
Yeah, okay, all right. And we have not done any recommendations for the quarterly report presentation, right?
No, Chairperson. If
I
there's
see Member Bartman is back. She raised her hand.
yes.
Apologies, I was struggling with the internet a little bit. I just wanted to ask with the resolution regarding the building, is it possible for us to just put a timeline to that to say, and I'm just thinking out loud, or maybe like 2 months or 3 months that there needs to be a report back to the committee as to whether Transport and Public Works has now resolved the matter in finding a building. Thanks.
Yeah, we can put a timeline. Can we put a timeline as to the end of August?
Mm-hmm.
In order.
Okay, all right, we can do that. I also put a recommendation forward that we, in regards to the Commissioner for Children's Engagements with the district municipality, that we also get the timelines to that so that we can join in 1 or 2 of it.
Mm-hmm.
Members, then we, Member Bartman, it's you and me, in regard to the minutes of the 3rd of June, and both of us were in that meeting. I trust that you have gone through the minutes.
I have, Chair. If you need to put it up, you can, but I have read it and I am in agreement with those minutes.
Okay, all right. So then, Wasima, we
Yes, Chairperson.
adopted draft minutes.
Thank you.
Member Bartman. Then, in regard to the going forward, we will see each other in the next quarter in July for that oversight visit of the standing committee.
Yes.
Okay, all right, then that leaves me to say thank you very much, Wasima, for the logistics around making the standing committee meeting happen. And I also want to thank Masintle as the Assistant Procedural Officer, as well as our IT support, Siraj and Candice. Thank you so very much. I want to say please go well and be safe, and that the standing committee meeting on the Department of the Premier is now adjourned. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.